Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to the Econobox garage. Come on inside where it's a little bit warmer. So next up on the back of the car is putting the bumper overriders on. Now, I showed you in a much earlier video that I bought new brackets for it. These are the ones that go outside the car. And these are the two reinforcing ones that go inside the car. I'm going to clean those up and touch up the paint on those so they're all nice and black. And then here are the bumperettes or overriders themselves. Now the chrome isn't in the best of shape. I'm going to try and do my best to clean that up. But I'm going to run with these for now, as it's not in the budget to replace them. I will be removing the little brackets in here and giving them a coat of black paint. You can see that these weren't taken off the car when it was painted the dark blue. There's lots of overspray, and there's even overspray on the edge here. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. Go hang that one up. Now, these overriders aren't in the best of shape, but it's what I'm going to run with for now. And it's got quite a bit of pitting on here. I'm just going to use some steel wool to see if I can get that a little shinier. There's a definite line here where it's been masked off and something's got onto the chrome there. One thing I am going to do, just to give it some protection, is I'm going to clean up inside and put a coat of rust reformer on that. That's another Tremclad product that will convert that rust just to a black thing. So I'll just mask it off like around the top edge here so that stays chrome, and make sure everything is up, and then just clean up inside and use some of the rust reformer on the inside. Well, before I put all of the overrider assembly into the car, I thought I would show you how it works out of the car. It's a lot easier to see. There's this inside bracket. There's one for each one. So that goes inside the car. And then there's the upper bracket with the short leg that bolts to the overrider. And this is the lower bracket. Now what I've done here is I've just put a piece of white wire, and that basically represents the boot floor across here, and then the back panel of the car up here. So that U-shaped bracket, the long leg bolts into the top hole through the body. The brackets themselves are mounted to the holes that are on the back side of the overrider. So the upper bracket bolts into this one, and the lower into this one. And again, the short leg goes up against the overrider itself. And you'll see that I've got the inside of these painted with black with a rust converter type paint. Now there is a short bolt that goes through the boot floor and into this socket here to hold the bracket in place. And then there's two bolts holding that lower bracket on. Yeah, so I just thought do this to demonstrate how this whole thing goes on the car. And another note, the big end of the overrider goes towards the top and the narrow end goes towards the bottom. So that's how the overriders and a Bugeye Sprite get installed on the car. A little bit tough to see, but I've got everything loosely mounted in place. I've got the bolt through the upper bracket, and you can just see the rubber spacer in behind. Just protects the paint. The bolt in here is loose. This one's loose. And go underneath. You can see the two main screws or bolts that need to be tightened. Now the one you can just see up in here, that goes through the floor and directly into the reinforcing bracket inside. That's good and tight now. So next thing, I'm just going to tighten up these two here and the three in the back here, the one going into the body and then the two holding the overrider on itself. And then that will be that installed. Oh, there's the first overrider on. You can see the bracket coming from underneath the floor and the one in behind. I'm going to wait for the paint to dry on the reinforcing piece that goes inside here, and then I'll get the other overrider on, and then I can start to work on the exhaust. I've actually got it up on jack stands here, just putting it approximately in place. Then I realized I should probably get this bracket in first so that I can get to the bolts as required. One of the challenges of working on the back end of the Bugeye is that there is no trunk lid. And at the moment I don't have a helper around. I did figure out a way to get the whole overrider mounted without that second pair of hands. It does involve getting in the boot, I think, twice. So what I do, so this hole here lines up with this one here on the back. Then there's the three captive nuts along the bottom. The bumper bracket or the overrider bracket mounts to these two. This one just bolts through the floor. So as you can see, I've got some bolts coming in from the inside, going through far enough to engage the holes. So what I do is I'll put this in place, and that will allow me to get a bolt through this hole here and secure it to the floor. I won't tighten it up right away. Then I can put the first bolt for the bracket up through the hole and snug that up just to hold everything in place. And go back inside the boot, remove these two bolts, and the theory being that even once I get these two in from the proper direction, I can pull these ones out and they will remain lined up where they're supposed to. Well, with a little bit of finagling, I've got you can see the bolt coming through here, just holding that in place. I'm going to go underneath now and put the first of the three bolts in and see how we go from there. So you can see I've got the bolt still sticking through at the top here, and then underneath, oh, here we go, I've got one bolt in holding the bracket loosely in place, and then there's the other bolt that goes through the floor directly into that reinforcing brace. So now I'm going to go back into the boot. I'll remove the bolts that I had in. You can just see the head of the one right there, and then I'll pull this one out as well up here. Then I can start putting the rest of the overrider in. I have the overrider loosely mounted. So this one is loose, but already threaded, and you can see the rubber washer in behind there. This one's loose, and then the two underneath holding the bracket on are loose as well. The one screw that goes through the floor directly and into the brace, that's all tightened up. So I'm going to tighten everything up, and then I'm going to call that job done. So there we have both overriders on the car. and I'm quite happy with how that's turned out. I did try and get rid of the pitting and what have you on the chrome, but it's almost like it's been sandblasted or something, so I'm just going to run with those for now. The Sprite badge is just sitting there. I do need the extra set of hands to help put those on, but overall I'm quite happy with how things are going. So that's a wrap for this episode. So come back next week and I'll get the exhaust finished off, get the Sprite emblem on, and maybe even get started on the dashboard. But thanks for joining me this week. If you liked the video, please be sure to share it with your friends. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget that little bell icon. Click on that and you'll get notified when the next video comes out. My name is Ian. This is the Econobox Garage. We'll see you next time.